Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa O'Neill, Vice President of Global Strategic Partnerships at Travel Oregon. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for this Oregon Tourism Engagement Session. Tourism is about place and experience. So as we begin, it's important to take a moment to acknowledge the more than 60 tribes and bands of Indigenous peoples that have lived in the Northwest region since time memorial. We're grateful for the land itself, for those who have stewarded it for generations and continue to do so today, and the opportunity to study, learn, work, and be in community on this land. I'll also note some meeting tools and our best meeting practices. One tool we are utilizing today is the use of closed captioning. This is an important tool in supporting improved meeting accessibility and aligns with both statewide and Travel Oregon's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Should you prefer, you may turn the features off using the closed captioning button located in the Zoom controls at the bottom of the screen. Please reach out to our technical host if you're experiencing any difficulties or need technical assistance during the meeting. Use the chat feature and send a chat directly to the technical host so they can assist you. Should you have any questions about the meeting topics or process, please send a chat directly to Kate Sapel on the Travel Oregon team. Additionally, in support of inclusive and collaborative process that invites us all to join in, we ask that you please keep yourself muted unless speaking, participate by being fully present and engaged. If you need to step away or take a break, do so. Respect the process and respect other people, the unique experiences, perspectives, and values others bring. Respect our time and be collaborative by keeping it brief and focused on the current topic. Create space for others to be heard, speak from our own experience, and use I statements. I'd like to thank you again for taking time to join us today and acknowledge the challenges you, our tourism industry partners, have experienced firsthand from the pandemic over the past year. As we all know, the tourism industry has been greatly impacted, more so than many other economic sectors. The recent National Jobs Report found that nearly 4 in 10 jobs lost nationwide are in the leisure and hospitality sector. And the travel industry has suffered a $500 billion loss in visitor spending. In Oregon, this is translated to visitors spending 58% less in 2020 than in 2019, which has resulted in a 24% drop or 28,500 fewer tourism-related jobs statewide in just 1 year. As we turn the page to 2021, with its promise of a vaccine and hope for recovery, we also acknowledge that this year will continue to bring challenges to the industry. Although we operate in this highly fluid and uncertain economic climate, we must set strategies and goals for the future. First, targeting the immediate rebuilding as well as long-range vision for the future of Oregon's tourism industry and economy. Today's meeting is intended as a start at doing just that. First, you'll be hearing from Nastasia Olson, Project Manager of Strategy, who will be taking some time to walk you through Travel Oregon's strategic planning efforts. She will share some statewide results from the 2020 Stakeholder Survey and ask you a series of polling questions, ensuring we're continuing to focus on responding to your greatest needs. This information will be used to help Travel Oregon make strategic and programmatic funding decisions. Next, we'll shift to the focus of the meeting to Central Oregon Regional Conversation. Harry Dahlgaard, Director of Regional Cooperative Tourism Program, will share an overview of the program and the regional strategic planning process. From there, our regional partner, Christine McConnell, will be joining us, presenting their 2021-23 draft strategic plan, and will facilitate a breakout group discussion so you all can provide feedback. Your time here today will help shape the tourism strategies and funding decisions for your region. With that, I'm pleased to introduce Nastasia. Thank you all again, and Staj, take it away.
Great, thank you, Teresa. Again, I'm Nastasia Olson, Travel Oregon Strategic Project Manager. So as we launch into the process to develop Travel Oregon's 4-year strategic plan to guide us through rebuilding Oregon's economy, I'm pleased to share a bit about the approach before I'll dive into asking some polling questions. So as Teresa mentioned, while we begin to see the dire impacts of COVID lighten on the tourism industry, we also continue to operate in a highly fluid and uncertain economic climate. To be responsive and intentional in this environment, we will be undertaking Travel Oregon's strategic planning through a two-phased approach. What this means is we will be launching a short-term rebuild plan this spring, serving as a catalyst from COVID crisis to an emphasis on short-term rebuilding, excuse me, focusing on repair and investing in key opportunities to restore tourism. And as we shift from the crisis strategies we've been working on to rebuild strategies, we must also continue to recognize the magnitude of what the tourism industry has experienced these past 12 months. Born out of these challenges is the opportunity for growth and the responsibility to re-examine the role of tourism and the future of Oregon's economy. We are seeing visitors shift their behaviors, some of which may become permanent. We're also seeing the impacts of climate change with more extreme weather patterns and longer and more intense wildfire seasons. And we have the long overdue need to put conversations and policies against racial injustice at the forefront of our decisions. All of this is paramount that while we rebuild, we must also rethink. So while imagining the future, which already seems so uncertain and may sound very intimidating, it's also an exciting and necessary opportunity for regrowth and transformation, ensuring our industry does not return to business as usual, but rather emerges more resilient and an even more relevant economic driver in our state. So this two-phased approach will allow us the chance to set a longer range vision. It allows us to extend the rebuild plan into a transformational plan through the year 2025. And it allows us more time for meaningful industry engagement with all of you and to ensure that our work is integrated through an equity lens. So with this in mind, I want to take a quick pulse from all of you to assess alignment for this planning process from your region's perspective. And so you'll be seeing some polls pop up here momentarily, and you can just choose whether you agree or disagree with the following statements and make sure to press submit. And again, these are just pretty quick rapid fire polls we'll be going through. So I'll just leave them open for about a minute. It looks like everyone almost is in agreement with that. We must really look at how the future and kind of rethink tourism. So that's helpful to hear your perspective. Thank you. And so with this second poll, again, you will be choosing whether you agree or disagree with this statement. So Oregon Governor Brown has proclaimed it is the duty of every state agency to apply the Oregon Equity Framework to develop agency-specific strategies and concrete actions to address racial and economic disparities. Travel Oregon is a state economic development agency. As such, it should play a role in advancing racial economic equity for Oregonians. Do you agree or disagree? Looks like we've got a decent amount of agreement with this work for equity in Oregon, so thank you for your perspectives. So we will be doing some more polling here shortly, but before we get into that, I did want to share a timeline of where we are in this two-phase planning approach. So I want to point out that following these engagement sessions that you're partaking in right now, we'll be doing a series of these all across the state. The draft Travel Oregon rebuild plan will be released in late April for public comment. A public hearing will also take place in May at the Oregon Tourism Commission meeting. And then upon adoption of the rebuild plan at the June Commission meeting, we will really be kicking off the second phase of the planning process at the Governor's Conference on Tourism in June. So following the conference, there will be additional chances for stakeholder input into the fall of this year, including one-on-one interviews, focus groups, co-creation labs, and an equity assessment. These opportunities are vital to ensure your voices are heard and responded to in our plans. So I do encourage your participation. And we will continue to communicate these events through our industry newsletter, as we always do. And if you have any specific interest in this process or questions, you can always reach out to me directly at stage@traveloregon.com. Okay, and so jumping back to the timeline for a moment, you can see that the Oregon Tourism Stakeholder Survey that we launched in late 2020 really serves as the kickoff and a key foundation to this whole year-long planning effort. We do that survey every couple of years. And again, it's very important and it kicks off this planning process. And so I'm hopeful that many of you were able to take the survey. We had over 1,200 people complete it statewide. And to help us in confirming if the priorities and destination management challenges and needs are still accurate that we heard from the survey, I'll be sharing some of the results, and then I'll be following up with polling questions again, so we can capture your regional priorities and perspectives today. So I did want to point out, in some of these polling questions, there will be an other option. And if you choose the other option, it would be great if you could list your thoughts in the chat feature so that we can make sure to capture those in our notes and for our reports to help with our planning. Okay, so here on this first survey slide result, you can see that it's specifically in your region, the top concerns for welcoming visitors to your community included negative resident sentiments towards visitors, diminished visitor experience due to facility and amenity closures, and heightened political tensions. So with this poll here, we will be, like I said, reconfirming those and seeing where you all are in your thinking. So for the next 6 months, are your top concerns about welcoming visitors to your community the same? Please choose just 3 of your biggest concerns from the list below. All right, so overburdened public resources, including bathrooms, parking, parks, and open spaces, really continues to be your top concern, as well as some of the others. So again, very helpful in sharing that information. On this slide, you can see that as a result of COVID, the statewide priority resources and programs identified to assist businesses and organizations in rebuilding in the next 6 months included helping advocating for effective policies and funding, tools and training to improve communications and marketing, networking with other professionals in your sector, support transitioning to online, and technical assistance navigating business recovery, funding, and loans. And so again, with this poll, we'll be reconfirming, and so please choose your 3 options below that you believe are the top priority resources or programs specifically for your business and or organization in rebuilding in the next 6 months. Okay, so helping advocate for effective policies and funding to support tourism businesses organizations still is really coming up as number 1, and supporting adapting business models and plans. So very helpful to know. Thank you all, and thank you for your couple comments here on the side. So appreciate that. So this next slide, you can see that as a result of COVID, the top statewide priority resources and programs to assist communities in rebuilding in the next 6 months included support developing and bolstering visitor experiences that are COVID appropriate and enhance local livability, communication tools and message frameworks to convey safe visitor behavior in towns and businesses, land stewardship strategies and processes to help ensure outdoor recreation experiences are kept pristine, and so on. You can see there's a lot of top priorities here. And so again, with this poll, we'll have the same question. You can choose your top 3 priorities you believe will support your community specifically in the next 6 months. Supporting development of visitor experiences that are COVID appropriate and enhance local livability is still the top priority, closely following with supporting and convening local stakeholders to address the complex challenges. So again, very helpful. So on this next slide, again, so this one's a little long here too, but these are kind of our primary tactical planning and destination management strategies to expand the economic impact of tourism and to ensure its vitality and sustainability. And so you can see the ranking here that was chosen statewide as the most important are managing tourism impacts in order to preserve local assets and livability, identifying and fostering partnerships to address economic resiliency, building diverse and equitable and inclusive tourism economy, and so on. And so with this final poll, we will not have the other option this time, but you will be able to rank these again. So please choose your top 3 that you believe are the most important tactical planning and destination management priorities. Like, all right, managing tourism impact in order to preserve local assets and livability is really coming in the top priority. Close following, dispersing visitation across seasons. Yes, very important. Okay, and so with this, I have one final question here. So please put your one answer in the chat. And so what is your one specific experience, place, or product in your community that you believe is important to rebuild over the next 2 years? But with this, I will wrap up my time here. And again, thank you so much for your perspective and doing all those rapid fire polls. It is now my pleasure to introduce Harry Dalgard, Regional Cooperative Tourism Program Director. He will be leading you through the regional specific planning focus for the remainder of this meeting with our regional partners. So, great, Harry, kick it off. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome, thanks, Daj. Sorry, I was just on mute there. I hope everyone's doing awesome today, and thank you all for joining us. Working with regional stakeholders and getting an opportunity to understand the regional needs and dynamics is what really stokes me up about our role with Travel Oregon. First, before I hand it over to Christine McConnell, I just want to share some real quick context with you about how the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program is structured and really how this dynamic works across the state. So as a reminder, I've seen a lot of your faces in previous stakeholder meetings. It's good to see you all again, by the way. As a reminder, 20% of the statewide transient lodging tax that Travel Oregon receives is encumbered, and that's used to implement the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. The RCTP program divides Oregon into 7 regions, and we work directly with those 7 regions and 7 regional destination management organizations on aligning on planning, programming, and developing opportunities within the travel and tourism industry. So moving on, I realize you all are pretty timeline weary at this point, so thanks for that, Staj. With that said, here's another timeline. But with this timeline, I just wanted to orient you where we are in terms of our program, the RCTP program, and really just show you how we typically move through a planning cycle with the RCTP program. You know, the survey that Staj was working everyone through at the start, that occurred in October. And we distributed survey reports back to our regional partners to really kind of mull over and develop ideas and thinking around how and where they want to position their draft plan. That takes us to today, where we are hosting regional stakeholder gatherings and stakeholder engagement sessions where we're garnering insight from you about how and where those plans can and should be adjusted. After this point, regions will go back, take the feedback they received today and amend that on to a final plan. That final plan will be reviewed and approved by Travel Oregon. And then the final step in that feedback cycle is to come back to you all and present, usually in the fall sometime, about what got integrated in the plan and how the plan is going to carry forth through the next biennium. So moving on. I also wanted to share some high-level updates that we did, and some programming adjustments that we made at Travel Oregon to ensure that the RCTP program was resilient through all the different turbulent events of 2020. First of which was updating the guidelines that really kind of determine how the program functions. So we implemented a whole bunch of emergency management guidelines, and really the brunt of those changes really addressed how the program can react and what the program needs to do to be more resilient through COVID and other natural disasters that may be forthcoming. So it was a good opportunity to just really look at the program and see how and where we need to make it more flexible. It also increases staffing administration for our RDMO partners, and it really puts a focus on being responsive to the needs of the travel and tourism industry. Additionally, this year, the RDMO cohort and Regional Cooperative Tourism Program staff completed a collaborative DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion training to address considerations around racial justice and inequality and how that pertains to the travel and tourism industry, so that we're all looking at investments and programming that is more inclusive and moving forward. Lastly, I'll touch on this a little bit more in depth in a few slides ahead, but we also implemented regional recovery and resiliency funding, and this funding really helps regions actualize programming that may have been delayed due to reduced budgets associated with the events from last year. So moving on, I just want to explain just how current funding ratios work with the overall RCTP program. So this is looking at a macro budget for each one of our regional partners. The top pie chart is how we function in typical operating environments, and the bottom two pie charts really focus in on the overall proportion of investments across the board for the RCTP portfolio of investments. Regions have the opportunity to invest in grants and strategic investments. So the lower slide is inclusive of what that funding dynamic looks like there. So moving on. And lastly, before I hand it over to Christine, I really just wanted to present a high-level view of the budget and really how the budget for the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program has been impacted over the past year. As you can imagine, negatively. So looking at fiscal year 21, the Central Oregon region was receiving around $850,000 via this funding mechanism. And looking into fiscal year 22, that reduces to right around $620,000. I had mentioned the regional recovery and stability funds. What these are really meant to do, or the intent of this, is to help RDMOs actualize programming, investments, and product development that was put on hold or delayed due to the events of 2020. And this is additional resource that Travel Oregon is allocating to our regional partners to really help some of that decrease in budget. So some key considerations about the regional recovery and stability funds: regions may invest in in-state marketing with this once the governor lifts in-state marketing restrictions, and regions may also choose to utilize this in grants or strategic investments and or any other programming that they see best fit. So it's really intended to get out of the organization and be impactful as it's being spent down by our regional partners. But for those details, I'll hand it over to Christine, and she can walk you through what Visit Central Oregon is thinking about in terms of their investments in programming for the upcoming biennium. So take it away, Christine.
Great. Thanks, Harry. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here with us today, which is March 16th. And it's kind of amazing for me to reflect and think in our team that on this exact very day, 1 year ago, we closed our Visitor Information Center in Sun River, indefinitely, not knowing what may be happening to this date when we're here together today. So just putting best wishes out there to the people that we already know that have been affected by COVID and the wildfires throughout the state. And just putting a knuckle bump out to you guys out there that are with us today, that we're here together and we've made it through this year that I personally am calling a year of 5 lifetimes. So good job, everyone. And I just want to thank you again for being here with us, allowing us to share with you some top line draft ideas that we've started planning for our next biennium, as Harry was just sharing with you. And as our role as Central Oregon's regional destination marketing and management organization in partnership with Travel Oregon. Next slide, please, Ryan. So most of you already know us, but for those who don't, I'd like to introduce our team. Julia Tyson, our president and CEO, Mackenzie Ballard, our VP of marketing, and Katie Johnson, our communications manager. They're all online with us today, and they're going to be facilitating the break rooms that we've talked about earlier. Also, we have Yumi Oakes, our operations manager, and Julie Bradley, our trusty travel concierge at the Info Center. Mackenzie and Yumi have just had promotions recently, so congrats to them. Just want to give them a shout out for that. And then you're joined by me, Christine McConnell, VP of Industry Relations for Visit Central Oregon. And I'm really proud to be a part of this tiny but mighty team. Thanks, Ryan. Next slide. And our mission is to generate overnight visitation to support an enduring economy for the region. And we've been doing this. I personally haven't been doing it, but we've been doing this since 1971. And 2021 marks our 50th anniversary. And we don't know exactly what our celebration looks like yet, but when we do, we will definitely let you know. I guess that indicates my age too. Anyways, we do this through our programs of destination marketing, promotion, sales, public relations, and destination development, which directly support business diversification throughout Central Oregon. Next slide, please. As Harry mentioned, we've been operating under RCTP emergency response with a current budget of roughly about $855,000. This includes the carryover that we brought into from pause programs from the previous fiscal year, and looking at the coming year with the Recovery and Stability Fund, we're looking at about $770,000. We leverage these funds in complement with the budget that we work with for our organization from Deschutes County Transient Room Tax dollars as well. And the buckets that you see here, our planned buckets are a little different. Visit Central Oregon, leverage or plan for 48% in regional investments, 30% for leveraged co-op programming with Travel Oregon, and 22% for staffing and admin. Go ahead with the next slide, Ryan. So real quick, we can gloss over this again for the next fiscal year, 855, and you can go to the next slide. Go ahead, Ryan. So that brings us to a dynamic number that we're looking at for the next biennium for our RCTP plan, about 1.65 million. That's dynamic because we do not entirely know how much we're going to roll over from this current fiscal year. From what we do know, that has been paused and postponed due to COVID and replanning of other events. We're looking at about a $250,000 rollover, again, resulting in that $1.65 million for our next budget. Go ahead, Ryan. So that leads us into the key priorities that we are looking to focus on for our next RCTP biennium. And these include recovery and reopening, planning and management, strategic partnerships and investments, and industry engagement. And go ahead, Brian. How we came to these is through a number of different methods, of course, just discussions with our stakeholders, planning in our internal team, direct conversations, mind melds and brainstorms, as you know I like to call them, but also through views of the stakeholder survey that Staj covered. And I won't go into all the weeds of the survey for the sake of time, but Just some highlights and focus points that complement our strategies per the feedback that we got from everyone. And it was great to see, I made some notes of the views that were offered today, so I'll try to remember to tie those in, but hopefully all of this resonates. Again, the 2020 survey was conducted in the fall of last year. We got the results in December of last year. And we were pleased to see that our DMO partners and hotel lodging partners, and really nice to see that the tour guides and outfitters of our region were engaged well in the survey. So thanks for your feedback, everyone. Go ahead, Brian. And how we looked at the long-term and short-term priorities of the survey is also how we kind of tied them in with our pillars. So here you could see for the immediate recovery, COVID-friendly experiences, grants and funding, marketing and promotion, and stakeholder engagement for more immediate tactics. And then looking at the longer term tactics, the 3 of the 4 were still top 4. Marketing and promotion, grants and funding, and stakeholder engagement. But this is where tourism related infrastructure snuck in for long-term planning, which totally makes sense. And hopefully you'll see that we've infused some of those plans and will continue to do so in our RCTP planning. Thanks, Ryan. So going into recovery and reopening, which could also be kind of looked at as our marketing and promotion pillar. As we know from some of the open-ended questions in the survey, I think it's all pretty safe for us to say that Bend is really well known as our, anchor destination. And we saw this opportunity to be able to reach potential and returning visitors and really showcase our destination to strive to disperse density throughout the entire region. And just sharing some data, you guys may have already seen some of this. This is last week from Destination Analyst. This was week 52 in their research, so an entire year of research. And what we saw was that people are really dreaming of vacationing and planning, and the dial is definitely turning, we're seeing, and I think we're all feeling that kind of hopeful change in sentiment. And go ahead, Ryan. But people are also getting very desperate for travel, as we're finding out from our friend Stephen Colbert, and where he showcased this great slide of a survey that, if you guys want to see the real survey, I'm happy to share it with you later. So we got that pent-up demand. And go ahead, Ryan. You can go to the next slide, Ryan. Did it move? I'm still seeing Stephen Colbert. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So what we saw from our Central Oregon stakeholder survey is that everyone felt that a way to reach our consumers going forward would be to do a one-stop packaging shop type of capacity. And so clearly 76% of you said that this seemed like a valuable opportunity to collaborate with. I also pulled up this word cloud at the bottom of the page to show, of course, Ben, these were open-ended responses. And so Bend came up in some of that text, but what was nice to see was that in the middle of there, some of those rural area keywords that popped up in your minds to be places that would benefit from promotion when it was safe to travel again, and that being like Madras, Newberry, rural, Springs Trail. So that was good for us to see, and that areas for us to focus on going forward. Go ahead, Ryan. So some of you guys might recognize this slide that I repurposed from Mackenzie. Thanks, Mackenzie, from her Marketing Advisory Committee meeting. And this is one way that we're going to answer to that interest in promoting packaging. We are renovating or rebuilding our website currently. And we will be offering that opportunity for people to book package travel. Focusing on COVID-friendly activities such as like dining outdoors, staycationing, arts. We have a awesome mural trail program planned, and skiing, golfing, all those outdoor activities that people we know are seeing as safe activities right now. Go ahead, Ryan. Also, under recovery and reopening or marketing tactics, we saw opportunities to further support the region by your interest in creating assets and like for photography and videos, but also creative assets in digital development. And half of you also agree that the opportunity for trade shows and events seems beneficial as well. Go ahead, Ryan. And so looking at our bucket of funds for recovery and reopening, this is a first blush, so looking at some of the numbers and some of the things that we're focusing on. Of course, there's our tried and true official Central Oregon Visitors Guide. That is our key fulfillment piece that will continue to focus on and showcase the region. Also, we found great success in our digital assets, such as the Trailhead and the Turn, and that's an opportunity, Trailhead, especially for us to focus on more of our undiscovered rural areas. Arts and culture, hopefully you guys have seen some of those makers videos that we've been making. They're all beautiful, but the basket weaver one is the one I chose to put up there. And then arts and culture, again, with the mural trails, our website renovation. These are the marketing efforts that we're looking to do. And with our website remodeling, we've also done some keyword research for organic search with Mandala. They've done a great job in sharing those highlights with us. So we'll be rebuilding some of that optimization into our website as well. Go ahead, Brian. And in regards to travel, trade, and conference trade show co-ops, many of these tactics have been carried over from our previous biennium. Obviously, we weren't able to attend some of these. We've done some virtual trade shows. Last week was was it last week? Could have been 2 weeks ago, was Go West Summit. And what we're excited about welcoming back in the region in the future. Unfortunately, we saw this event got canceled for March 2021 this year. It was, I think it was actually supposed to be taking place this week and into next, was Ski Tops. And that was going to be our travel trade show experience here in Bend and Mount Bachelor of international ski tour operators in an effort to build awareness for our winter ski product here. We are going to be welcoming them back in 2023, so that does fall in this future biennium. But yeah, many of these efforts were paused and are being carried over into the next biennium. And moving into planning and management, which is encompasses many of our destination development thoughts. Here you'll see air service efforts and just, strategies in managing ways that we can be thoughtful as a tourism destination to really pay attention to the impact of tourism in our area and make sure that our high desert paradise that we all love is not being overloved. Go ahead, Ryan. So again, looking at some of these stakeholder survey views, here we see, again, I think Staj kind of alluded to this too, that all of these are high priority for Central Oregon. And the first top three tied with managing tourism impacts for preservation and livability, which I believe was #1 again today, if I took my notes right, and awareness and support of the value of tourism and also fostering partnerships for reopening and recovery. So drilling down in the next slide for our region, per the survey last fall and today, it appears that managing tourism impacts in order to preserve local assets is still very high priority. In fact, that scooted up today in current times, but still dispersing density year round was again top priority as well. And but back in the survey back in the fall, the top two were awareness for the value of tourism and managing impact, kind of tied for our region. Go ahead, Ryan. And as far as our stakeholders and community feedback goes, still today, the bolstering or supporting developing COVID-friendly experiences was #1 again, followed by land stewardship and supporting convening with partners. So that was nice to see that these are still key priorities for today. Also, what was interesting to see in here too is like kind of in the middle there, training and engagement and retained or expanded air service frequency were much higher in Central Oregon per our stakeholders than in comparison to other parts of the state. So leading into the next slide, where we do plan to continue to support air service development. And we've been partners with the Central Oregon Air Service team for many years now, and we had a big win last biennium or last fiscal where San Jose was announced. Unfortunately, that flight was delayed due to COVID. It was supposed to start launching next week during spring break, from what I remember. But we haven't heard anything otherwise that it won't continue. And so when that does pick up again, we do have partnerships with the Bay Area and have some activations planned with the San Francisco Giants to kind of promote that awareness. And that flight is super exciting for me because that's my old home turf. So I'm very, very excited about that. Go ahead, next slide. And then moving into some of our other planning and management tactics, we found it very valuable to continue to partner with land managers and coalitions that are specific to these efforts, as they are experts in those areas. And where we see us being most efficient is helping to kind of bolster their or boost their messaging and help amplify that, and we'll continue to do so. And we're pleased that our budget wasn't affected as much, where we can continue to keep those relationships going. Next slide. Leading into strategic partnerships. Here we saw a really strong interest in DEI training, and we're really, really happy to see that. And we also saw the need to continue providing investment resources to support opportunities for the region. That's clearly seen in the survey. And really, like, these strategic partnerships probably could be seen in all of our pillars, but we're just going to focus on some highlights in this category too. Go ahead, Ryan. So again, looking at this view of business and organization assistance, still today we saw that funding and advocacy for businesses in the region was very high, followed by adapting business plans and networking. So we'll continue to do that, and an area of focus for networking and business plan adaptation. Go ahead, Ryan. We saw an opportunity to focus on DEI, where 59% of our respondents said that they do believe that the industry should play a role in advancing in this area. And so personally, I'm really excited and pleased to see this as well. Because of the interest of this is why we also saw that 91% of you are ready to welcome visitors here inclusively, and we just want to keep that momentum going and keep that practice going in our region. And just want to pass out kudos to Travel Oregon as well for being proactive in the space as well, and kind of showing us, the trailhead to follow down this path and have a tourism messaging throughout the state that we hope to further on into this part of the region too. Go ahead, Ryan. So also, we did see this still as an opportunity area, because at the top of the screen, you can also see that even though 91% of us feel ready to do so, there's still 31% of us who have not had any sort of DEI training. And so we want to help in that space. And just kudos out to Central Oregon in general, also for also being very engaged for the people who have had training. We see that Central Oregonians have been more engaged in training too. You can see here with the orange bars at the top chart there that compared to the rest of the state, Central Oregonians have had more DEI training. So good job there. Let's keep it going. Next slide, please. So looking at our strategic partnerships, here are some of the more educational tactics we have with the Rural Tourism Conference scholarships coming in. For the Rural Tourism Conference will be coming back to Central Oregon in 2022. We do plan for some grant workshops, as we know that that's a priority for people to be able to get funding through that resource. DEI program development, we're working with Allyship in Action. We really like the lens that they present with, and they're very entrenched in the outdoor industry here. And so they are very resonant on being able to relay DEI messaging and also understanding our community and culture. And here is also where we are really pleased to be able to bring back some sort of immediate opportunity fund or strategic investment fund. We don't totally know what that looks like quite yet, because we weren't sure like how much funding we would have, but we do plan to build some sort of effective program that will continue to support our businesses in that need area. So, and I have many of you may have seen, we put out a message yesterday about the Destination Ready pilot transportation program that we're launching. We do a media event this week, and then it's going to be starting this weekend. Very excited about that, for addressing visitation up to Bachelor and helping to mitigate some of the parking issues there. So we're pretty excited about that. That's how we were able to match funds with Travel Oregon for that. So thanks again, Travel Oregon, for your support with that. Go ahead to the next slide. And this section is all about you, our industry stakeholders, and we are always striving to be creative and innovative in how we engage with you and being resourceful for you. Go ahead to the next slide. And we just want to put out thanks to you guys. We were very pleased to see that over half of you were satisfied with our work and feel like you are engaged with us and also like the direction of tourism in Central Oregon. Go to the next slide. But we also don't want to be complacent. We do want to put out there that if you felt like because of the timing of the survey or you happen to miss it or whatever, and you didn't get to give any feedback in these strategies and efforts that you've just seen me talk about, then please know that we've created a form that you can share your ideas and thoughts with us. That link is there and we can share it in our follow-up. We still do see opportunities to be able to enhance our engagement with you. So don't be hesitant to share any thoughts with us. You can even do it anonymously. Go ahead to the next slide. Because by this slide, we did see that there are other ways that we could continue to message out to you. And go ahead to the next slide. Hopefully you're seeing that in our e-newsletter, which you've said to us that you want to receive these types of resources and information by ENews. And so we've been adding into our e-news. You may have noticed that starting at the beginning of this fiscal year, we've included lodging reports for hotel and vacation rentals, which actually has been a really great learning process for me as well. And DVA puts together this really beautiful media report for us. So we're sharing that. And hopefully part of the reason why you're with us today is also from our industry ENews. So any other resources or webinars, things like that. Also our efforts to engage through our marketing advisory committee, future developments with the DEI workshops. We hope to be launching those in June. All of that will come out by our industry ENews. And hopefully you agree that that's the best way to reach you. So everyone who's out there still with me, thank you for making it. And now we get to go in and choose our own adventure by going into our breakout rooms. And here, if you have the time to stay with us, and please give us feedback on what you just saw me talk about and what Travel Oregon has shared before. Any thoughts, questions, feedback, this is your opportunity to personally share those things with us. We have note takers in the rooms with us to capture those that feedback. Mackenzie and Harry will be in recovery and reopening. Katie and Staj will be in planning and management. Julia and Matt will be in strategic partnerships, and myself and Kate will be in industry engagement. So just sending gratitude out to you guys for staying with us, and please stay and give us your feedback today. Thanks very much.
All right, y'all, welcome back. Hope those breakout rooms were super productive and you were all engaged in some awesome conversations. We're coming to a close of these tourism engagement sessions. So I'd like to thank you all for your time, effort, and just all the awesome thoughts you brought both for Travel Oregon and for Visit Central Oregon today. So, you know, we've tried to craft a system in which stakeholder feedback is really an integral part in everything that we do. So I can't thank you enough for being so participatory and really helping us shape a better travel and tourism industry via these regional plans and for the plans at Travel Oregon. So on behalf of our friends at Visit Central Oregon, we thank you for all your time today. Just as one last bookkeeping note, we do have an additional feedback form open. So if there's specific information or feedback that you want to provide Visit Central Oregon as it pertains to any of their departmental strategies, investments, or programming that they were proposing, there's a form that that will be posted into the chat right now, and then further posted on Travel Oregon's industry sites that will provide just additional form for information. So if you want to pass this this webinar or meeting on to your colleagues or friends that weren't available here today, we also have this session recorded, and they can at a later date provide their input via that form and take part. So again, thank you so much. Our contact information is up on the screen. We're happy to chat with you all and hear more ideas as they come up down the road. But until then, I hope you have a great spring and an awesome summer tourism season this year. So fingers crossed, all that happens without a hitch, and really good seeing you all. Hopefully next time this will be in person. So take care and see you later.
Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for being here.